Let's see. Okay, we are on live now. So, welcome everyone. We are live streaming to our Facebook group and also live on YouTube. And this is our interview with one of our wonderful clients. Her name is Lorena, and she is a full time creative entrepreneur now. She's been with us for a long time in our courses and in our coaching program, and actually was in one of our masterminds too. And today we are chatting with her about her journey and how she found Zazzle and how she enjoyed our programs, and then everything that she was able to do going forward in terms of changing her lifestyle, becoming a full-time online entrepreneur. And then throughout the let's say session here, I'm going to be able to see any of your comments. So if you're able to then post here, then I can show them. And if you want to ask any questions to Lorena going forward, then we can speak about that. So welcome, Lorena, and thank you so much for being online with us.
Thanks for having me, Jen. I know I'm kind of a little nervous, excited to be here. I know we had an interview, I think, a few years ago when I first started in my journey, which was like pretty nerve-wracking too as a beginner. But like at this point, it's great to kind of give an update on where I'm at. So
yeah. No, I was thinking about that the other day. How long has it actually been since you've been on Zazzle and then that you came into our programs and started to sort of be in our community, let's say?
Yeah, no, you know what? Like I started my business when I was on my 4th mat leave. Again, like I'm Lorena Depante. I don't know if I introduced it properly, but I'm from Ontario, Canada. I'm a full-time creative designer now, the founder and creator of ldesignloft.com. I'm a wife and I have 4 children. I have 2 boys and 2 girls. And I started my entrepreneur journey around like 2016 on my 4th mat leave. So, and I stumbled upon Zazzle only because I was trying to build my portfolio website at the time. And, I wasn't thinking about a business, but then it turns out that this is available to me, like being able to put up my design on a platform. So I stumbled upon like Jen and Elka through YouTube. And because I was looking for, like tips and like, some more, knowledge on the platform just so that I'm more ready when I start my business. I guess I wanted to make sure I'm starting off on the right foot.
Yeah, like you were informed. We have a lot of people who have come across us on YouTube and on, well, not so much Facebook, more so on YouTube because we're able to be searched by that. So, yeah, no, it's wonderful because a lot of people, when they first start out online on Zazzle, they don't realize that they, first of all, need maybe even a coach, but even to be informed. Because for when I started, I was thinking of it more like a hobby for sure, or it wasn't really in my own hindsight of being an actual business. And Zazzle has since then like evolved so much that now people are really getting into the being of that it can be an actual business online, right? And you can actually replace, let's say, your 9-to-5 income or make quite a bit of money on the side, instead of just, thinking of it, a couple $100 here and there every month. No.
Oh, for sure. I think it's like when you're going online, especially like if you've never had that kind of experience, you get that first dollar, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I can make money online. And I think that was I know that was like eye-opening for me. And so I wanted to kind of just be like, okay, well, let's start there and then build from that. But it gave you the idea and like the potential that it could possibly take you to. So,
Mhm. Yeah. So when you first started out on Zazzle, and you obviously, did you have an idea of what you wanted to create as a business? Let's say your niche or your avatar or anything like that, or did it evolve afterwards when you started to do research and came into our community, let's say?
well, I know the thing with me was that since I'm a professional graphic designer, like I know I had that background of creating invitations and designs and stuff like that. So my first product that actually sold was a wedding invitation. So it was like a wedding thank you card invitation, and it was like pretty much like what I did for our wedding. So
Mhm.
when I did that, it kind of just, it's nice because you're excited to do something that you actually created for yourself. So I'm basically my own avatar, so being in the mind of the person who would be shopping for this thing. So in 2 weeks time, it actually sold. And that was the first thing that kind of lit the fire in me. And so that I guess in some ways it became my niche, like in the occasions niche, and like even like birthdays, and then it evolved into like personalized gifts, because I also know I loved kind of giving gifts that way. I gave my husband like a travel mug with like photos on it at one point, and it was like something that he really appreciated, and I was like, I'll put it on here because I know I wanted to design it the way I wanted to, and get also the experience of being a consumer for Zazzle, and then having it delivered and seeing the physical product in my hand. So yeah, I guess it's like it kind of found me. Maybe that's how I can explain that niche.
Yeah. Very cool. So how did you come across Zazzle in the first place anyway then?
So it was like I was on YouTube, and then it was like I people were talking about passive income, and that
Mhm.
was like I said, I think at one point I said I've never heard of that, before. Like passive usually sounds like a bad
Yeah.
word or something, right? Like, but passive income was like, what does that mean? And then there was somebody on the chat was like talking about like platforms, and Zazzle came up, and they're like, oh, I'm on Zazzle. I put my designs up on there, and it's pretty simple to use and stuff. So then I started asking that person, and I was like, okay, well, then let me go check them out. And I researched, because I'm always like, you're always nervous when you're starting something new, and you're like, what is this? And how can it be that simple? And
Yeah.
so, being a person of research, I wanted to make sure that I'm looking at all what I needed to do and reading what their requirements were. So
Right.
I came
Yeah,
up.
especially when you're getting into a new thing, and as you said, passive online income way back when you said 2016 when you first started, it was kind of like this odd area where you're like, is this real, right? Is this a scam? So, and yeah, because I started out in 2007, and so especially back then, people were hesitant of even buying online, right? It was this weird thing, putting your credit card information on the internet to buy things. So it's really fun and amazing that it's translated into something so much like bigger now and much more secure. And yeah, and it has become so like expansive, I would say too. I'm sure that you've seen the transition of all the new products that they've been able to put out,
Mhm.
and the opportunities not only for like customers and consumers, but the designer too. So it's a really wonderful platform. Like I absolutely love it. Obviously, it's because I'm a coach on Zazzle and everything, but it's really great to speak to our clients and to see their experience too, in terms of just them being able to fulfill. I'm sure for you, it definitely fulfilled your, like, let's say, hopes and dreams that align with your business goals, but also just having fun and being creative at the same time, and knowing that your product is being then bought by somebody who will have that experience, buy that for their wedding, and then have that whole life-changing moment where they have your invitation in their hands. It's pretty neat, I would say.
Mhm.
So I wanted to then ask you too, since you said that you found us on YouTube and you did some initial research. So what did you find, first of all, like how were you convinced to come into our community and come into our programs? And then what was your experience when you first started and just being with us for so many years? Yeah, just like in terms of how you felt within our community, how you were accepted, and your journey going through all of our programs.
I think it was more because I was like struggling with certain aspects of the platform. Like you start doubting yourself. You're like, well, how, like setting up templates, or, making sure that I'm even like putting my categories on, like, making sure that my store is done right. So when I started, I wanted to see how to set that up properly first. And so when you guys offered the program, I made sure that I was like, okay, I might not be the first one to sign up, but like, I made sure that I was there. And so when I saw that there's like a community component, and then there's store critiques, it actually made me feel better that at least like, someone's looking at it with like a different set of eyes. Because if you're looking at it, you have, the way I'm looking at it, I'm like, I've looked at it too many times now that I'm probably like thinking it's great. But then it was good to have that kind of feedback with,
Mhm.
and it's great because there's two of you. There's you and Elka, your mom, right? So then, the more I was part of like the live calls, like I saw that, she has a very analytical approach to things. And then you have this marketing and like tech, like you're great with the tech part of it and design. So it was really cool to have that well-rounded, coaching. And I know that it's evolved quite a bit. And for me, that the thing that was amazing was being part of the mastermind. And like, even though I've started with the program and doing all of that, and it was my husband that actually inspired me to dive into the mastermind, because he's very analytical as well. So
Mhm.
he plugged in my numbers and like, this is like Excel spreadsheet to make a chart. And he was like, your year over year, you're doing really well. And I think, we should invest more into it. And so that was kind of just like, seeing that we went into it knowing that we are going to be professional and this is a business. I mean, I'm having a lot of fun, but like it was something that I know was like I went into it as a professional and I wanted to make sure that everything is done correctly. And so I needed that expertise to that you and Elka have, so that you can guide me along the way. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely. I mean, when you're investing this much time and effort and also financially into something, you want to make sure that there are results that you get from it. And we always say that we can never make any income claim statements, but it's the fact that we give such support, like you said, and we are very different people, my mother and myself, in the way that we coach. She is very much analytical and very much the numbers and the business aspect of things. And then I come in with, the tech and then also the design. And so the two of us give that really well-roundedness to our coaching programs and stuff. And it's really wonderful to see not only the evolution of our own coaching programs, but the fact that since, for example, you've been with us for such a long time, we get to know you as a person and also a designer. And then so we can cater our coaching style to help you better and like communicate with you better as well. So it's really been such a pleasure to have you, obviously, in our coaching programs and then see your transition. And then speaking about your transition, I want to know, so when you first started out, you have evolved in your design and your product suites and your base of everything in terms of your business. So what was, first of all, your biggest accomplishment that you felt like, not the biggest one I want to say, but the most monumental one where you're like, wow, this is actually something that is cool and amazing, going forward? And then what was the biggest financial accomplishment that you were able to say that this is something now that it can affect my real life, like a vacation or, helping out with some extra bills and stuff? Because that's always what people want to know, is how can this help them going forward in their life, right?
Mhm. I mean, I guess overall, like I know I mentioned about the first $2 like sale, always like I always go back to that because that was like amazing to even see that, because I didn't think it was real. And then I guess it also helped with my creativity, right? Like the way becoming an entrepreneur just kind of, it's like a personal development, you know, platform for anybody when you start something new and you take all these risks. So I saw a change in myself, like, and in our family life, like being able to have that mindset of, what our goal is to have time freedom, financial freedom, and location freedom. And so being present for our family is very important. So like my children have seen a change in me, you know what I mean? And we're like, just like spending more time with one another. And that's very important.
Yeah.
So like the confidence that I've found too, even in like anything that I do before, I know I was like feeling that my creativity needed some enhancement. So like being in this space like allowed me to kind of express myself in that way.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what helped me also see other platforms and other things, like participating in like challenges. And that's kind of how I won the Pottery Barn Kids like
Yeah.
licensing, right? So that's a very monumental thing for me, I guess, as an artist, right? Just so licensing my art in somewhere, a retail store like that. And for financial like milestone, we talked about vacations, and I was able to, with our Zazzle earnings, bring the family to Disney World. And that was something that, I mean, 4 children going to Disney World, with my husband and I flying. I mean, it's a feat in itself just to drag everybody there, but to have the earnings to help with something like a trip that's a dream was
Yeah.
very, very monumental for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I remember when you first said that you were able to then go into Disney World. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I don't have children of my own, but I know 4 young kids and bringing them there. I've been to Disney World with my parents, and I have 2 brothers, so it's the 3 of us. And I remember that it's a big expense, and it was a big, a big thing for my parents. And so that's just wonderful that you can say that you did that on your own, because sometimes when you're working for somebody else or you have a 9 to 5 job, yes, if you have the money and you've earned it, it's not always as, rewarding if you have made it on your own or you've made those accomplishments by being your own boss. So that's kind of a neat thing to say
Yeah,
for
it's like yeah, I guess it's actually like when you set goals like that, it makes you kind of like, okay, like I don't need to watch Netflix today. I'm gonna go work on these things that I know. It makes you really like intentional about the things you're doing, and you set things like that. And I mean, the Zazzle earnings and all the earnings from our business has also helped us kind of like look at our finances, like there's certain debts we wanted to pay off and certain investments that we wanted to make, and those are kind of like I found that was really important because now we're looking at the numbers and we get to this point where we're like, you know what, we need to, if we're thinking about where we want to be in a few years from now, what do we have to do? And so, my husband and I really kind of like focused on doing that together. And so, like, the next milestone was being able to leave my 9 to 5 job. And that was kind of just recently, like, it happened at the end of August, and opportunities kind of lined up and things, we're like, okay, you know what? It's time. So now I'm doing full time creative entrepreneurship now.
That's wonderful. Well, talking about that, I want to know, what does your day to day look like when you wake up, and then how is the schedule with your work, and then also maybe even your children and fitting everything in? Because a lot of people, keeping to that structure, being your own boss, I myself sometimes struggle with, okay, do I watch Netflix or do I,
No, I know for sure. I mean, I see it's such a gift. Like this is our new normal. Like that, being able to get up and like make breakfast and like get the kids off to school and just be calmer. Like I mean, it's like a big deal, right? Because you're just like, okay, we have to get everywhere. Just like okay, this is our morning, and I'm up early anyway, kind of doing my business, and then when we've all dropped them off at school and I get to be home, it's like I can decide on what to do that day that'll help me in the business or even my wellness. Like, do I exercise? Do I read? Like just do stuff like that or volunteer in places that are important to us.
yeah,
So, I mean, our day to day is just like, I know it's like when you become like, okay, I'm going to do my business full time. It's not like, okay, that's all you're doing. You all of
yeah,
a sudden look at your life and be like, oh, wow, you know what? There's like so many other things. And it can get maybe like to a point where like, okay, you can do everything. But then you decide now, it's like we have the time and there's this luxury of like being able to go, okay, this is what's important and this is what's moving the numbers. And so, just like time is such a resource and focus on like doing the things that you want to do or that light you up is actually like a blessing. So.
yeah. Yes, no, because I mean, a lot of people do struggle with that, but it's very true. Once you now have the time, and that's kind of what we talk about in our programs and our coaching is time freedom, financial freedom, and location freedom. And not that you have to work on Zazzle, literally from 9 to 5 or 12 hours a day. It's now I have time for myself, I have time for my family, I have time to volunteer, like you said, give back, and then also really hone in and focus on what is important, what makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, we always also say is that if you're working for something and you hate it, then that's first of all negative energy that's going into your business, but then also you're not going to produce effectively and efficiently. And so it's amazing that you can now get to that point and that you are at that point where it's the balance between, yes, it's work, but it's also, my life and my life's, the structure of the way that I want to live going forward. Not that it's going to be super stressful, but I do know the numbers and I do have these set goals because let's say I do want to go on vacation or I do want to have investments or, retire early, etc. And it's really wonderful to have you say that out loud because a lot of people, first of all, when they're starting their own business, it's scary and they're overwhelmed and they don't see that potential future because they're not there yet, right? We're fearful of the unknown. And it's just really wonderful, first of all, that you have a partner, your husband, who is on the same page as you and supports you and works with you with that. And then you are also a strong, confident woman who can see that as a potential and then has worked through it. Because I know, at least for myself too, on Zazzle, it wasn't always pretty at the beginning, I was scared. My first year, I only made $90, and we say that as a funny story, but it's true. And you're like, holy smokes, if I only make $90 for the rest of my life, I'm not going to be anywhere. But getting over that hump and that over like that obstacle is not impossible, but it's a struggle for some people. And then the fact that you can push through it, and that you did now, and that you can see that potential for the future, and then just keep it growing. And I wanted to bring it back to the point that you said about Pottery Barn, but you quickly mentioned it. But that's a big feat, and it's also the fact that you got noticed because it was on, like, your graphic designs on Zazzle, right? And so you were able to, like, for the Pottery Barn, you should tell more about that, because not only were you working on Zazzle, but that's opened up other venues for you going forward, and you had other possibilities.
Well, yeah, that was it was a challenge that I had seen on the Minted platform. So
Minted part. Yeah, okay, perfect. Sorry, but yeah, but either way, you're in the graphic design area space, and it wasn't that you're just solely focusing on Zazzle. And
yeah,
yeah, so,
yeah, no,
and then,
that's I think because even when I won the challenge, I know that having like a website and having the presence online, like had like Pottery Barn kids had to actually understand my business, so they saw that I'm a professional and I do these things. So being part of their collection on that season was, they wanted to talk about me as an artist. So but yeah, like that was important because sometimes you lose your confidence, you don't know if you're doing things right. So just do something like that, like licensing. And that's kind of part of this online space where you're like, you don't really know that, I guess passive income is available, you don't know that licensing is available, you don't know that, all of these opportunities. So I mean, it just kind of really just blows your mind to think like, okay, there's a lot we can do. And I think that's, before, like I always thought, okay, I can only do one-on-one client work. That's all I can ever do, right?
yeah,
And so that's how you make a income as a designer. But then now, yeah, you're like, wait, there's more. And then now it's like I get to choose the type of clients that I get to work with, and those projects that I really enjoy. And so that's still another component of my business, and that's that and other things that I want to explore. So yeah.
yeah. No, it's very true. When people go into that graphic design space, it's like one-on-one clients, and then it's just that one project that you're working on. Because I have had other clients who come into our programs, and they either have a background in licensing, so it's like their projects are only for that type of, structure, where you can't actually use your own projects that you've made, they're just licensed out, or they're doing one-on-one client work. And so here, the online platform, especially Zazzle, opens up that range of possibilities where you can just have fun and design. And it's not only like you can do one-on-one client work, but it's also customizable for everybody around the world based on the templates that you create. So yeah, that's wonderful that you've been able to transition out of that and open up your headspace for that, because there are still people who think that graphic design is just that one-on-one project-based type thing.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you quickly too, because you have such a wonderful Instagram and social media presence, and you have these wonderful videos that you always post of you doing paintings and stuff. So tell me about, you said graphic design, but you're also an artist too.
Yeah, it's like something that I've started kind of learning. And that's another thing. You get excited about learning new things and like, taking courses and finding mentors that will help you enhance those like technical skills. So then yeah, like the watercolors actually they bring such like calmness in me that when I actually do it, I'm like, oh, okay, like I feel like, and I get really excited when people buy it. Like, when they buy products that are on like blankets, and like it's especially for babies. Like I get so like emotional. I see them, buying it for their children, because I gift a lot of my stuff to, even like there's like babies in our own families. So, I'll give personalized gifts in that way. And that's the thing that's really cool about Zazzle, because it's personalized. It's like so unique that, you can't really find anywhere else, and you can put names on, these products. So I've made it for my niece's like son, and all of a sudden someone's buying it for their children. And I think that's like the beauty of it, that it's like it keeps giving, and it keeps like kind of like producing for you, because it's like it's an investment in your future too. And it's like something that you made out of love, and you made it kind of like with care. So you're like, oh, okay, and it's up there, and people will ask about it, and they're like, okay, now I want it on a pillow. And so you could do that with this type of platform.
Yeah, no, Zazzle is wonderful in terms of just the ability to customize and create things, and it's really neat that you've created your own products for your own family members, because I do remember even on your social media where you've posted pictures of your kids and nieces and nephews having the things in their hands, and the fact that you've put so much love and attention and detail into those products. And then after that, since you posted it for sale, technically, other people can also enjoy that and share that love too.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's a really wonderful feeling for me. I don't have as many gifts that I've given personally on my own things, but I can see in terms of the numbers and the reviews that I've received for my wedding invitations. I've sold a save the date that has sold out over 600,000 copies.
Oh,
Um, and so that's a lot. It's been on the marketplace for a really long time, but that's a lot of like invitations out there. And sometimes you don't really relate the numbers on the screen to the actual events that possibly happen in real life. And so I'm like, holy, like, I've invited 600,000 people to some sort of wedding or event. And that's just a really cool feeling too, because you have put that love and that dedication into making that product, and then to have that transferred to some sort of experience on the external world, not just on the internet. It's a really wonderful thing. Yeah. And the
yeah.
fact that, first of all, I want to say you can tell me what you love about Zazzle the most, but I'm going to say that we just design, right? You don't have to deal with shipping and handling and all of that stuff. And so it's actually just the most beautiful platform for designers and business owners to create things and think about their own business rather than actually having all the inventory in their house, or, shipping and handling and all of that.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, we all know it's like a not a get rich quick scheme thing that, that we all are part of. But I know every like thing that you create, it's like something that will bring you passive income eventually, like if it's done right, right? So I mean, I've actually had a conversation with like someone who's been in the licensing world, and she actually said, I kind of wish I started with something more passive in the beginning, because then it's just in the background working for me. So I'm glad that I started on a platform like this, and that I can keep, enhancing it and developing it. So I mean, that's the thing too. It's like customer service, and how even I know on the chat people will go on and ask me questions, but if it's like something like shipping related, I can direct it to Zazzle, and they're really good. I haven't had anybody go back like they didn't help me, So they actually take care of what that issue would be. So yeah, like I mean that's that, because it's true. You get to concentrate on creating and designing, and not be like, okay, that person didn't get their order and I'm all like scared
Yeah.
that they got the wrong thing. And if something wasn't correct, like satisfaction guarantee is part of their whole business plan. So
Yeah.
we're confident about that.
Yeah. No, and yeah, no, it's wonderful. You kind of can give everybody the direction to contact customer support.
Yeah.
So one more thing that I wanted to ask you in terms of the design and stuff. So you said that you do watercolors and things, but I wanted to actually touch on the fact that you are an artist and you scan those images and you put them on your products, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, there's actually a few things, a few like mediums I use. I also use the iPad and
Mhm.
Procreate and Illustrator, like the Adobe programs. So, like, I've learned from experts on how to actually do seamless pattern designs. So, that's something that I do. I mean, I know Zazzle has their own like way to do like tiling and patterns and stuff,
Yeah.
but as an artist, I can give my own spin and actually create a seamless design. So through like watercolor, I do scan it and then bring it into Photoshop and remove backgrounds. But that's the thing too, that I found that like my graphic assets and motifs can be used and leveraged in so many different ways, because like though you can do it as a pattern, as individual elements on themselves, you can create like your own art prints, or like for invitations, or like for favors and like gift boxes or something like that. So, and since like I have a corporate background, like an in-house corporate background, I know what like businesses also need. So then I take some of my knowledge and actually offer other things to like businesses, especially because I know it's like for like name badges or business cards, or things like that. So it's like I know my niche has kind of evolved in that way. Okay, I saw a need in the market, and it's like I know that's like an expertise that I should probably also make sure that I'm offering, because I know that market, I know businesses, and I understand as a business owner what people are going to need. Like so, I offer that in our shop now too, and it's not something that's like out of the blue. It's just something that I know is helpful for people who need it.
Yeah, well, I want to touch on that then too, because when you're a business owner, like what you just mentioned, is that you're creating intentional products for a need or servicing, you're providing a service to somebody. And so, because a lot of people, when they first start out on Zazzle, they're just kind of randomly posting products just to see if it sells. So, what can you touch on that base in terms of, that, well, first of all, you just said it, but like that it's very important to, be in that sort of service area where not only are you just posting products for sale, but actually doing them intentionally, because you also, as a business owner, don't want to waste your time spending a lot of time making products that don't actually hopefully make you money, that aren't transferable into anything. Because a lot of people don't realize that at the beginning, right?
I think that I mean that's the beauty about being part of like your space or and different. Like I mean, I have friends now too that are like business owners on Zazzle, and being able to meet with them and having your community. Like I got to a point at one point where I was like, I think I've designed everything I needed to do. And then, like, and then you'd come up with like, oh, actually, there's a list of things and there's these new products that it's actually really nice. It's almost like having an assistant on the side. Like you'll get like from Team Clark, I'll get an email and all of a sudden it's like, oh, these are scented candles are here. Like, I'm like, I forgot about that. It's just a reminder about things that you should, work on or see if it actually works for what your niche is and design on that. So yeah, like being intentional in the products you make, and it's not just for necessarily like one person all the time. It could be for a bulk order, and because like a service will need that, like a charity race would need something like these like I don't know, like cards or something for sorry, like I don't know, like banners or something like that. So,
Yeah. Well, even like corporate holiday cards and things like that, where it's bulk,
mhm.
can transfer, not only being just a holiday card, but how can you maximize on the potential of different types of people who would buy it, like the potential customers, right?
Yeah.
So that's wonderful that you said that about our community. I want to touch on that before we kind of wrap up, because we've been here for a while. But I want to say, what is like the favorite thing that you've experienced being in our community? And so you were in the Profit by Design Academy coaching program, which you're still in right now. You've been in our mastermind. And then we actually met in person, which was kind of fun. And we went out for dinner in Toronto. So yeah, what was your like most favorite experience, not only just because of our coaching or the programs, but within the community, and then how you felt our teaching style was, etc. Just kind of give people who don't know and they haven't been in our community sort of like a little bit of a lowdown on, yeah, the experience.
I mean, again, it's like just finding out like the things that I struggle in, that there's going to be a community that'll help with that. I mean, something that was really important was during COVID. That was very eye-opening, because as a business owner, you get nervous about uncertain times, right? And you and your mom came up with a pivot plan and actually walked everyone through like, okay, this is what you do. Calm down, everybody. And it was just like it was being in that space and being in a positive environment, it makes you actually understand that like other people are doing this, because it's like being an entrepreneur can be a lonely place, right? And so that's why when I was part of that mastermind retreat, those ladies are still my friends. Like we still we still talk and stuff like that. So that's very important, like having a community that will support you. And I mean, there's like in, you and your mom, like I said, your styles are different. There's like tough love too. It's coaching, right? There's going to be times where you're like, you need to do this, get up and do what you need to do. Stop. Like, because sometimes you get into these like negative thoughts about like, oh, someone's going to steal my, someone stole my design. I mean, that's happened to me. Right. And that's like, it's part of like the risk that happens when you're online. But it's like, you have these mindset sessions that are very important. And strategy, that's one of my favorite ones, right? So it's like, what we need before we even thought about it. And it's kind of just that, we're gonna start mulling over things that probably we shouldn't worry about, and just be in the positive and abundant mind space. And I think that was always kind of what I really appreciate about that, your the team and your mom and yourself. And it's like the perceivable aspect of that, it's a business that will grow, Because
Mhm.
you need that. Like, I mean, I never mentioned this before, but you and your mom being like in the level that you're at and you're still on Zazzle, that's very important because it's like you can't make that up. Like you have stores and you're still making the income, right? So that we need that kind of guidance, and the platforms are always changing. So
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, okay, well, what happened with the fonts? Like, what do we do now, right? And that's good to have that support and being in that positive environment. And if anyone's negative, you kind of just, nip it on the bud and go, stop. We
Yeah.
just need to talk about this and work through what we can do, what we can control. So,
Yeah. Well, thank you like for reminding me even about the COVID and the pivot plan, but we created this community and I think that was actually around the time that we decided that we needed to have the coaching program aspect of the weekly calls because we knew that people were alone and we knew that business owners like you couldn't get out of your house, you couldn't do very much during that time and that also as you mentioned it's like wow, my income might be jeopardized because everything is shutting down or the manufacturers aren't working and so we needed to give you that support. And I think that's exactly where sort of our whole transition happened with within our coaching program as well and making it a lot more inclusive. And as you said, supporting people on a much better way that we thought possible and then also just more personable as well and since we are able to be on those weekly calls with you and everybody else in the coaching program it's like we get to talk to you we see your faces we learn who you are and your learning capabilities or the way that we can coach you better. And as you did mention too, that the platform keeps on changing. Like last week, there's new products, and now they've had these collections that have come out that are much more intensified and much more enhanced. And so our ability to be on those calls with you and then also discuss the things that are happening in real time, I think is really. I mean, I'm tooting my own horn here, but I think that's really impressive on myself and my mother's the coaching aspect of that because then we're actually able to work with you. I learn every single call that I'm online with everybody because not only am I coaching people, I learn from their experiences, from their designs, and how I can help them better. Like when people come into our design sessions and I'm playing around with the things, like I'm learning at that same point in time too. And so for me as a coach, it's really wonderful to be in such an interactive space and such of a supporting community as well. And then have our team there as well, Annette and Christy and Anne and Melissa. And then we've got my mother, Elka. And so just the fact that we've created this really cool space where Zazzle people can come on and be in that positive community. Like you said, like if you go onto the Zazzle forum, and I'm not going to ever say anything bad about that, but it's not really a place where you're very informed about the things that you potentially need, right? And then also, like you mentioned, you went on YouTube to search for things, but you might not get that personalized experience where you can actually ask the questions that you really need about your products and stuff. And so it's really wonderful to have had you throughout our transition because I think you were even in the beginning of our profit. It wasn't even the Profit by Design Academy. It was the 5-step something, the 5-step profit plan. And so many years in the making with you, your relationship with us. Because yeah, when we went out for dinner in Toronto, that was already about 5 years ago or something like that.
yeah, yeah. I get why it changed, right? Like I understood that because I mean, when it first came out, I was like, okay, here's the basics, and you're like, okay, and then you're like, but you need more than the basics. Like you could probably have stopped there. Like maybe that's you could have just okay, and then you've evolved into seeing that it was important to have those conversations with people. I mean, as a business owner, sometimes you don't know what to ask. Like, you don't know how to even ask and what's the terminology for things. So if someone else asks that question, you're like, that's what I wanted to say. And so when it gets addressed at that point, I'm like, okay, that was what I needed to say. And then you develop and then you get to a point where like, okay, you can ask those questions and go back to some of the recordings if, when they're available for that year and just say, okay, now I get it. Now this is what I implement because I wasn't there yet. So that was really important too. I mean, I'm still in the community because I like doing that. I mean, we watch the replays and have it in the background because it helps me, kind of like there's more people. There's like people in the world doing the same thing as I am, and it helps me and it inspires me as well too. So
Wonderful. I want to say thank you so much, Lorena, for being online with me here. And we had a whole bunch of people on YouTube and on Facebook. And If you have any questions, I want to give you some time for a little bit of an outro if you wanted to give your contact or just say where you can find yourself. And then, yeah, I want to just say thank you so much for this time spent. It has been wonderful chatting with you. And yeah, this replay will be available on YouTube and on our Facebook group as well.
Yeah. I think you guys can you can see me or follow me on Instagram. That's somewhere I'm most active. So my handle,
And your handle is right here with after your name, right? Perfect.
Hospitality Design Loft. And so, I'm there. My stories are probably the most active. The posting I'll go on once in a while. But yeah, you can DM me if you have any questions, and let me know, because I know it's like a lot of things to learn. But like, I'm always kind of interested in what people are doing and what you guys need. So.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Lorena. And we'll see you obviously in our chats for our Profit by Design Academy. But yeah, wonderful speaking with you today, and have a great day. And thank you everyone for being online with us. All right.
Thank you. Bye.